welcome to Concert Pipeline. That's Jens Schippel.
And that is Steve Jones.
And today, Jens, we have a special guest on the program. His name is Paul Loren. He was really awesome, and I got to chat with him, and he played a couple of songs, which was a lot of fun. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, welcome, Paul. And where is Paul located?
He is in New York.
Right on the other side of the country, eh?
Hey, yes, indeed. The other side of the country. So we had a really good chat, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But we're actually, I'm going to pull back the curtain, so to speak, a little bit, because we're re-recording this podcast here. Last time on the pod, we did something we don't normally get to do a lot, and that is we did an in-person pod, and we did it through Zoom also, where we were distanced far enough apart from each other, probably about 8 feet or so across a table and everything. And with that, when we're listening to it, like there's a 1 second like echo, right? Like delay. It's like a delay.
It's totally disconcerting.
Yeah. And so we're like, okay, we can manage this. And we had done it once before. And we did 2 episodes during the day. And the first one worked out okay, but the second one, this one, not so much, I'll just say.
No, man, that was painful to listen to.
Yeah. So I didn't want to put that out on our listeners. So we're going back, and luckily we haven't had to do this very often, but we're doing it again. We're putting out a good quality product, right? So
I think it's probably maybe only the second or maybe third time that we've ever had to do that. I mean, we've been pretty lucky with the stuff. I mean, I think once I remember one time there was user error, where we where we started to go through the motions of the pod, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh god, the little light's blinking or not blinking or whatever
that was during the
indicator is that
right?
it's on pause.
That was during the performance at Slim's that we were doing backstage.
Another venue that is no longer.
Yes, but we were able to salvage that one. But this one even, and then I had the recorder die during the interview, I think once. But so that can't be controlled. But you know what, we're gonna do our best to put out a good product every time. And so we'll share the story that you were talking about, and to kind of set it up. We were recording in your backyard, and before we even did, we're doing any podcast, you wanted me to help you move a very large, awkward piece of furniture.
Right.
Yeah. So tell us what you wanted me to help you move.
We'll do. Before I begin, though, we have to make sure that we are all ready. Thank you for presenting your beer. I just wanted to make sure, ching, that we're good to go.
We are. Yes.
This. There's this totally, ridiculously heavy swing that we have in the backyard. So, imagine 2 reclining chairs that are suspended and they swing back and forth, right? So
yes,
it's heavy. And
it is heavy.
And on top of that, it changes position constantly. So when you try to lift it up, the swings are going to move forward or they're going to move backwards. So there's no way 2 people can pick this thing up and walk around with it. You need somebody, at least a third person, to balance the whole thing. So so we tried to move that thing, couldn't move it. It was located in the backyard where we have this kind of cement patio area, and then the rest of that section of the backyard that's against the house is a wooden deck that's elevated a bit. So the whole idea basically was just to clear the cement area because we're going to put something there. Yes. So
and you did not tell me what you were going to put there, but I do need to ask: has we were not able to actually successfully move the piece of furniture. Has it since been moved?
It has since been moved. Yeah, we got lucky. We had some gardeners come and do some gardening.
That's what they do.
Gardeners,
yes, okay,
gardeners
good,
do
good.
that. So they come regularly, and it was our main guy and then one of his helpers. So we were like, oh my God, will you guys help us move this thing? So it was like it was raining, and they were like, okay, that's fine, we'll do it. And then we tried to lift it up, and it was slow going, but we got it moved over to the other side of the yard and just kind of out of the way. um, it was the four of us, right? Them,
Yeah.
myself, and my wife, and I'm glad we didn't have to move it, another 10 feet. We wouldn't have made it.
Oh man. Yeah.
That was nuts. But yeah, but we made it, and nobody twisted their ankles or anything in the rain. And the whole area now is just is ready for uh, our new toy that we're getting.
Okay. It's a blow up giraffe, and
It's a blow up giraffe,
yeah.
and then you can get on it, and it's like you put in quarters, like where the neck
Yeah.
is on the giraffe, and you hold on for dear life. You could put like 10 people on the back of the giraffe. It's like this really long thing, and the thing
This
like
is
bounces up and
amazing,
down.
and all socially distant, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, not really.
Okay.
This is we're getting ready for the post-pandemic era. We're gonna have fun with this stuff again. But anyway, no. What getting to the point, we're going to expand the deck. So the deck is going to cover the cement. But before we do that, we had our neighbor come over, who is an electrician. He's done some work with us before. Fabulous guy, real fun. And my wife returned her electric car. She had a 3-year lease on it, and we didn't need it anymore. And we're going to be a 1-car family until she has to go back to work, which probably won't be for 6 months or something.
That's an even better carbon footprint than having an electric car, right? So
Yes, exactly. Having no car. And the point is, we have a 240 outlet in the garage that was for that electric car. So we had the electrician come over, and he wired the outlet for the backyard, where the patio area is, and we are getting a hot tub connected to that thing.
nice.
And we've been doing a little bit of shopping here and there. And dude, in the pandemic era, hot tubs are hard to get. Like the
Yeah,
one
one
we
of those things,
wanted,
huh? It's Clorox
yeah,
wipes and hot tubs. Is
yeah, exactly. The two things that are really, really hard to get. And, thank God you don't have to stock up on hot tubs. One's fine.
right. By the way,
But
I was in Costco today, and they had a 5-pack of Clorox wipe. I thought it was like gold, right? I'm like, this is incredible. I haven't seen one of those in a year. So just saying, it was great. I was like, okay,
yeah,
got one of those. So.
that's one sign that things might be going back to normal, right? It's like, okay, at least we're getting some of those products back that we used to depend on. The one that we picked out, the one that we wanted, that worked for both of us, and it was hard, dude, to pick out a hot tub that worked for us, because I'm a tall guy and she's a short woman.
So you have one that's like slanted, right? Like this,
Yeah,
right?
so exactly. So when the hot tub gets installed, it's going to be installed like a 45-degree angle, and she's going to be up on the top so she doesn't drown in the water level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just thinking
So
ahead.
yeah, but basically that's kind of it. Every hot tub we tried was either,
Did you test
her
them
head was
out?
in the water. Yeah, but there's no water in them in the store. So you're not really testing them out. You're just trying to get a feel for what the seats are like and where the jets kind of hit you, and you want something that actually works for you.
But you both did get in the hot tubs to just pretend that you were in there.
We got in a bunch of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so we finally found the one in the right color, and they're like, okay, it looks like we'll be delivering that to you in January, right? And it's like January when we're shopping, and I'm like, 2002?
2002?
And
2022,
like, it takes a freaking year to get one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we're like, holy shit. And they said, yeah, it's the pandemic stuff, takes a long time to get them built, and we know the drill. And we just got really lucky. We put in our order, and then somebody just happened to cancel their order for a model that was almost exactly the same. Just there was one color that was a little different. And we're like, oh, that's fine. That's totally like perfect.
So we don't have to wait a year. Yeah.
So we don't have to wait a year. Yeah, it's actually coming in 2 weeks. And they're going to come in and just install it in the back, and then we'll have our electrician come back and actually hardwire it in. It's not one of those things you can actually plug into a wall. It's, you have to hardwire it in. And then we fill it up with water, and we're dedicated to jumping in this thing, you know, hopefully once or twice a day. And we're just keeping our fingers crossed, hoping that's going to give us, you know, a lot of the relief that we need for our chronically sore backs.
Yeah.
We both have very similar, you know, back issues, so that's why we're getting these. So yeah, it's totally exciting. You know, we're looking forward to it. Not so much the electric bill that we're going to have, but
you're offsetting that carbon footprint thing a little bit, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. I know when you first said that, you know, I was excited for a second. Yeah, all right, we're doing something better for the environment. And I thought, oh, wait a minute, we're just replacing it with something else that takes energy. But apparently, so I looked at like the energy consumption for all sorts of different appliances that a house might have. And a hot tub is not like the #1 consumer of electricity. I thought it would be up there, but the modern ones aren't. It's more like the washing machine and the dishwasher.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a dishwasher.
One, but...
I don't have a dishwasher, so I'm up there, right? So
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's cool. So I changed my energy plan. So that should take effect in a couple of weeks. And like I said,
when does it get delivered?
Our first, I think 2 weeks. I don't know the day exactly, but we'll get it in 2 weeks. And then I told you during the first recording of this pod that you're gonna have to bring your swim shorts and give it a try next time you come over.
We'll do a jacuzzi podcast, right? So
exactly. Yeah,
I like it. I like it. All right. Well, great story, Jens. So let's go ahead and bring in our guest now. Again, this is Paul Loren. He's been singing since he was like 3. So he's going to do a little bit of singing on the podcast too. And we're going to start out with one of the songs he played for the podcast, and then get into the interview with Paul. So
nice.
Why don't we bring him on in here, huh?
Yeah.
But I'll give you a little number here that was written pre-pandemic, but certainly feels timely every time I sing it these days. It's called Gonna Take a Little Time. It's getting better every minute, every day, but better always takes much longer than they say. Nothing ever seems to happen right away. It's gonna take a little time. A little late, but better than nothing at all. Little slow, but that's because I'd rather crawl. Long way down, even if I take the fall. It's gonna take a little time. Oh, I know it's gonna take some time, but I don't mind the wait in line. And I'm sure things will be just fine. Ooh, but it's gonna take a little time. It's gonna take some time for things to settle down, to get adjusted to not having you around. Feel like I'm lost and maybe soon I will be found, but it's gonna take a little time. Ooh, it's gonna take a day or two to figure out. I'll have an answer, but I know I'll have my doubts. And when I tell you, I'll keep saying it out loud. Gonna take a little time. Oh, I know it's gonna take some time, but I don't mind the wait in line. And I'm sure things will be just fine. Ooh, but it's gonna take a little time. Oh, gonna take a little time. Yeah, no, gonna take a little time. Ooh.
Appreciate it. How are you
Yeah.
doing today?
Doing great. Doing great. It's a sunny, warmer day here in New York City, so that's a nice thing. It's always a plus this time of year.
Yeah. Have you guys gotten snow this winter, like a decent amount, or?
Yeah, it actually kind of delayed, which is why we're speaking today, and I appreciate the flexibility. There was a big storm here earlier in the week, and I was en route coming back from a performance in Omaha and was just delayed like an extra 36 hours there.
Oh
So,
man,
yeah.
What do you do in Omaha when you're stuck there for an extra 36 hours?
Exactly. Well, I tell you exactly because it's Omaha, but I love Omaha. I've found kind of the best Reuben sandwich in town, and parked myself at this place. Omaha's known for its Reuben sandwiches, apparently. So I sought out the best one and made made some lemonade out of lemons.
Hey, exactly. That's what you got to do, right? So,
yeah.
How has the lemonade been this past year? I guess as we go along this lemonade analogy, right? What's your year been like?
It's been good. I mean, I've been forced to frame things in a different way. And I think there's been if I can pick a silver lining from that, there's been growth from reframing things, right? That things are going to take a little longer, that things are there's more of an uphill climb with a lot career-wise and even in interpersonal relationships. But I think that 2020 has forced me specifically to be more nimble, to be more flexible, and to look at uncertainty in a more optimistic way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what's something you've learned about yourself this year that kind of 2020 may have brought out of you?
Oh, well, I think that it's not too late for me to be flexible and nimble. That there's a lot of growing left to do, and a lot of flexibility and life change yet to occur. And I think coming out of last year, I'm looking forward to all that change, for sure.
Yeah. Have you seen already kind of positive changes as we're entering 2021? I guess we're well into, starting 2021 at this point, but have you already seen some positivity as we're kind of rounding this corner a little bit?
It seems that way. I mean, I went to Omaha this week for a performance, reduced capacity with the symphony there, the Omaha Symphony. And that show certainly wouldn't have happened, 8 months ago, 7 months ago. And I think that things are on the up as far as testing and how we're able to manage performances. Certainly at the level of symphonies, they have their subscribers and there's kind of a built-in audience. I'm wondering about rock shows and, singer-songwriter venues, and that I'm curious about. I think I am optimistic, with the vaccine that we'll have some kind of solution for festivals and rock shows and stuff like that.
Yeah. So tell me about the show in Omaha. Like, how did that go with the symphony, like, and the distancing? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, they scaled down. They spaced everyone out. They have a new venue there in Omaha, so they have a new concert hall. They're a new HVAC system, and they're able to distance everyone because of the space they have in the hall, both in the audience and on stage. The performance was cut down to an hour show rather than a show with an intermission. So people, once they're seated, there's no mingling. They don't get up and kind of go to the refreshment stand and do all that. Testing is required for all the performers, and we're all socially distant. And I actually performed with a special mask on that filtered the high frequencies into the microphone, but kept the saliva and stuff, in the mask.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So I think business goes on, and business always comes up with artful ways. The good part of capitalism comes up with ways that we can, I don't know, just weather the storm a bit more,
Yeah. Did it feel good to just be performing?
Oh yeah, man. It was, yeah, I mean, it's been sorely missed. I mean, even to perform for 20% of the audience, I mean, it's kind of quality over quantity. I'm like, yes, we're here. We're doing this together. I know we're all distant, but what a joy,
Yeah. And so you grew up in New York. You're native to New York, right? So you're like, tell me a little bit about kind of how you've seen kind of music change within the city since you've, I guess over time.
Yeah. Well, I grew up New York adjacent, 40 minutes from New York City in the suburbs of Long Island, and would always go to the city. And in my early 20s, it was going downtown to Lower East Side and to the West Village, kind of the classic clubs that existed down there. I mean, CBGB's was still around when I was in my late teens and early 20s. And going to the Bitter End, for example, in the West Village. That all informed the sense that I could, write songs and perform them in front of people even at a small level. Like that was possible to do, even if it was just a weekend side hustle. Having that experience as a young guy in New York City, for sure, said, man, you could do this. These guys are doing it. These people are doing it. You could do it too, right? And at the time, the scene here in New York at that time in the early 2000s specifically was like, and probably still is in the suburbs, very cover band heavy, right? Tribute bands were in vogue at that time, and I was in like this is funny. I was in a Police and Sting tribute band at the time, hysterically.
You were okay.
Yeah,
So we got to talk.
yeah.
We got to talk about that, right? Tell me about that. Like, what role did you play? Were you the singer?
I was a singer.
Were you Sting ultimately?
I was Sting. I did we kept the songs in the original keys. I did the high stuff, and we had a blast. I mean, we were so young. This was between when I was 18 and 21, and we were like kind of these young guys just on the scene, and we got to open up for like the Wailers and the Toots and Maidles and things. And it was, I think part of the novelty of it was that we were these 18, 19-year-olds playing this music that was kind of around, we kind of grew up with, but the Police broke up the year I was born, basically, right? So so I think that was part of the novelty of why people booked us. But it was a formative time, and I mean, just to have that kind of exposure in front of people at that young age was great, Matt. It was great. Yeah.
Were you a big fan of Sting and the Police? Like, is that how that kind of formed, or where how did you land with them?
It's a good question. Yeah, I think it started with a bunch of high school friends who loved the early Police records. We loved Regatta de Blanc and Outlandos d'Amour and those kind of early jams, and we were playing original tunes at the time, but it would always kind of work in like a Police cover, like A Message in a Bottle or Walking on the Moon or something like that. And that just kind of formed into, we started to book gigs, and the club owners at the time, we were under drinking age, right? So we're booking these gigs, and the club owners were like, no one wants to hear your original music. And, what are people going to drink? So I think it was kind of a market. We were filling a spot in the local market. There was no other Police tribute bands or Sting tribute bands. And we're like, we could do this. We saw the Billy Joel band.
There's an
booked.
opening. Yeah.
Yeah. We saw like this Journey band and this U2 band getting booked around, and like, we could do this easy. Come on. So we did it for, close to 4 years. Amazing
I like
time.
it. What was the biggest what was the biggest takeaway from that, or the most exciting piece of doing that sort of thing? That's a unique thing to kind of take on,
Yeah. Well, for that music specifically, there's a lot of mental separation between the part, think of Sting's bass playing or any of that, and the vocal, and that kind of learning how to perform, be in the moment as a performer, but also think about the mechanics in a way, has been really instructive for me. I have brought that mental separation, like say church and state, church being connected with the audience, state being focusing on the next chord that you're about to play, or the next riff or whatever, next lyric, which is lyrics for me are the hardest. music I can do. Lyrics, I'm going to be that guy one day that needs a teleprompter for sure. But I definitely have taken that kind of church and state training into my current performance routine for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about kind of growing up. Like, were your parents influences on you musically? I know you listen to like Billy Joel, excuse me, Aretha, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Like, what kind of formed your musical taste?
My mom's musical taste for sure. I remember dancing to like Men at Work, Land Down Under. Like she would put on this 45, and I would just get down on it with her as just a young kid. So a lot of the 80s music. I remember her having a single of Billie Jean as well. And then she loved the music she grew up with. She loved Hard Day's Night would be on constant repeat in the car, and Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. And I was exposed to that time period through our local radio station in New York, which was CBS FM. It was an oldie station, right? I mean, hysterical to think that in the 80s it was oldies and it was only 20 years before. Like
Yeah,
now the oldie station would
it's
be basically playing NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, or something like
right.
that, right? Yeah, like it was 1987 and they were playing, the Beach Boys, Pet Sounds. Like that happened
You
only
hear
20 years ago.
you hear Green Day on the classic rock station, and you're like, oh my God, I'm old.
Yes, I'm old. I'm
Yeah,
old.
yeah,
So we had the CBS FM at that time in New York was basically 50s through early 70s, and that I don't know. I mean, I those records became ingrained in me. I think about Otis is sitting on the dock of the bay, or I think about Respect Aretha, or I think about the doo-wop stuff that was still being played at that time. Like I think about Dion and the Belmonts and the Flamingos. Uh, those records are just a part of my childhood lexicon DNA memory.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you played at Jennifer Lopez's birthday. You told
Yes.
me
Yes.
tell me about that. That's a unique item.
It was such a lovely experience from top to bottom. Top being from J Lo herself. She was just the nicest human. She wanted to do a party. The party was in Vegas, and I think the theme that she wanted was kind of a swinging Rat Pack kind of Vegas. And that's music that I traffic in and love dearly, and have a band set up to do that kind of stuff. Swinging American songbook standards. And she had us there do our thing. We were kind of the warm up band for the DJ. The DJ taking over the second half of the night on the penthouse dance floor thing of this hotel, and we were the warm up band. And the DJ just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed, and so we just kept playing and playing and playing and playing. And at one point, there was the singer Maxwell, the R&B singer Maxwell. I think he was supposed to sing "Happy Birthday" to her. He didn't show up, or he did show up later, but for whatever reason, he couldn't make the time that they had said. So they enlisted me to like a cappella sing "Happy Birthday" to J Lo. I walk over to her table, and I'm asking the family and friends to join along, and she was just so grateful and so nice and just down to earth. And I remember her saying, "I just love what you do, and I love that music, and just keep doing it." And what a joy.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty awesome. So at what point did you know you wanted to be a performer? Like, that you wanted to take your music and kind of play it live and kind of define your musical sense that way?
The performance, the performance knack in me definitely started at a young age. My parents took me to this a resort in the Catskill Mountains in New York. Like they would weekend there, and there'd be this band there. This two guys only in the band. One played keyboards and like accordion. The other played drums and sang. And they just sounded like 10 guys, like the amount of sound that came from them. And they played like the pop hits of the day and like Italian American classics, which I'm Italian American. And I was just in awe of these two guys, and probably in awe of the adulation response that they got from the audience. People would dance to them. They love them. These guys were like wined and dined and held in high esteem in the resort. And I probably thought to myself, I don't know, subconsciously, like that's a nice way to go about life, and when theater came up in school, I signed up right away to do musical theater, and would always be performing, would always take the solos and the school concerts, and just always remember myself, that being a part of my life. Performance was just always a part of my life. It's doing it with my own songs. Well, I had some early inputs like the Billy Joel or the Beatles, like you can write your own songs and perform them. I don't think that became tactile to me in any real sense until, like I said earlier, seeing other bands and performers do it in New York City around town. Yeah. And maybe they just came off the road and came back to New York to do a night. And I'll be like, what? They do that for a living, and they do it even at that level, they can do it. And it's possible to make a living. So yeah, it started early for me, Steve.
Yeah. Did you get to see Billy Joel live, and did that kind of like help, mold the, what you wanted to become as well? Or
yes,
what were some of those early concerts,
Yes, I saw Billy live at the Nassau Coliseum in the mid '90s. I think he was on his River of Dreams tour, whatever tour he was on at the time. And the show was good. It's funny, I don't remember the show. I equate the Billy Joel thing with this documentary on PBS, and it was like a behind the scenes into his life and his writing process and his performance life. I forget the name of the doc, but it was an early '90s documentary on PBS that I was enamored of. And the same with the Beatles, that anthology series, the Beatles anthology that came out in the mid '90s, was instrumental in the way that I saw those guys basically start from nothing, and then 19 years later they're at Shea Stadium, or on the Ed Sullivan Show. And I dreamed, and I still dream. It's like, am I still playing Shea Stadium at some point? When does that happen? Shea Stadium doesn't exist anymore. We have Citi Field. But more than concerts, I think TV and film probably brought out that kind of dreamlike stance about music.
Yeah. Did you always gravitate towards piano? I know you started really super young.
I did gravitate towards piano. Probably, how could you exclude Billy Joel from the conversation, right? But probably more owed to that guy at that resort in the Catskills who multitasked his way on accordion and double keyboard thing. And I just thought that he was a wizard. And I remember being very attracted to the visual of the piano. Just the keys specifically. I just thought it was a beautiful instrument. And I'd always, from as far as I can remember, Steve, I was always kind of playing and singing together. Singing maybe started earlier, but I always remember like playing some, chords and singing to them. And a lot of the time these days, I'll split the show with vocal only, vocal guitar, vocal piano, but my heart and my home are still at the piano for sure.
Yeah. So when you're writing a song, and I know you said the music comes a lot more naturally than the lyrics, like how do you kind of pull out whether this is more on the guitar, more on the piano?
I think I just kind of pick up the instrument. So, you get a different thing on the guitar that kind of like, you just get you can't really strum like that. You can't strum like that on the piano, right? It's going to sound clunky and weird. And so the songs that you write on guitar will inherently be different than they would on a piano. It's rare. I found lately more inspiration writing on guitar because it's a little more foreign to me. And so I'll pick it up more often than I'll sit at a piano. But a lot of my tunes come from just melodies that I hear in my head. I'm out and about, or I'm on the subway or in my car and I'm in motion maybe, and a melody pops into head. I'll voice memo it, and then I'll flesh it out on the guitar or the piano after that.
Yeah. And are you mostly self-taught, I guess, on both, or did you take lessons along the way?
Yeah, I'm self-taught on these instruments. I read music. I took violin in school, actually. So I read. Write it out, everything,
Yeah. Tell me about the tour that you did with the Temptations. How did that go?
I think they one original member, Otis who's still
Yeah.
the leader, but kind of a flagship brand that's existed that long. I am in awe of that. I mean, just the dedication, watching these guys still sweat it out. And, you know, a part of me says, it looks at that, or looks at a Paul McCartney or someone like who's still doing that kind of thing at that level. You know, they probably, it's not for money. McCartney doesn't need money. The Stones don't need money. I'm sure Otis is, you know, I don't think the touring is money driven. It's just love, right? So I think I got that sense from watching the Temps do their thing for sure.
Yeah. And how about touring with Brendan James? I mean, we've had him on the program like 3 different times, I think.
Oh, cool.
He's really awesome. I dig him.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. We had a nice kind of couple months going around the country together. I opened for him, I guess, you know, the piano kind of association between us, that was kind of a no-brainer. Yeah. And I just found him to be super affable, and I admire his songs a lot. I really love his work. And at that time, he was playing with a trio.
Yeah,
I think he played a couple shows solo, some smaller things that we did that were just solo, but he was playing with a trio at that time, and they were killer. They created a very big sound. And I haven't seen him in a bunch of, maybe that was 3-4 years ago now, but although maybe it's longer. I've lost track.
It's 2017, I think, actually. And I think we were supposed to do an interview, you and I, back then too, but I think you didn't come to the Napa show or something.
Oh, right. Okay, that would.
I don't know what happened, but I was just looking at old emails, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yes, 2017. Okay, wow. So that's 4 years ago now. Jeez, it's gone, man. Right? It's gone. But Brendan, I love Brendan's music, and I wish him the best. I have to catch up with him. I should send him a note.
Yeah, actually, we had him. He came out and played live at the Vineyard. I want to say it was that year, because again, you interviewed him 3 times, and I don't remember which one, but it was the first time, and he came out for my 100th episode of the podcast, and 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 to my house and performed it like in the rain on my porch.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. So it was a lot of fun.
Incredible. Yeah, he's a super nice guy, and that comes through. Obviously, you see that.
Yeah. So you've been doing these sessions, Leisure Lounge on Facebook and Instagram. Can you tell me kind of a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, you're kind of in the Leisure Lounge right now. I mean, I know that we're getting a little glare from the daytime, but it would be a nighttime live stream. I would do it on Monday nights because I always equated that with an industry night off, a night of leisure, a night where I can actually pour myself a martini and not feel guilty about it. And I would do just that, and would let my friends and fans in and, kind of lightly promote it. It came out of a need of, and a want in the early pandemic of just wanting to keep the muscle flexed, and connect with people. We were also separate. We were also isolated at the times, specifically in New York City in March, April, and May of last year. I'm sure in California as well is very similar. And wanting to just keep it going. So I was just kind of like, why not a piano bar setting where it's not about me? Maybe it's about people's requests, and maybe that would give them impetus to, to invest a bit more. If they said, I want to hear Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, or I want to hear you sing, I don't know, a Whitney Houston song.
Message in a Bottle, maybe.
There you go. I think I did play Message in a Bottle for someone. That's correct. It was a joy. I've since, it has come back. I did like a surprise holiday leisure lounge, but I might bring it back. We'll see where the world goes, Steve.
I like it. And as as we entered quarantine, what I thought was really interesting, you wrote a really great song, We'll Be Together Again.
Thanks.
Tell me kind of where you were at when you, I know where you're at really, but kind of what was going through your mind as you were writing that song.
Yeah, that actually came it's funny to think back. It's been almost a year, but it came the very first week of I think I wrote that like 2 days after St. Patrick's Day or something, like that week in March when New York City just shut. And I just assumed that I was indefinitely in my apartment, which almost became true in some ways. I would just be here, and I live alone. So I didn't expect to see the people that I love most in any short-term projection. So I thought about those. I had an idea We'll Be Together Again came from like the idea of those World War II songs, you know, that someday our troops will be back, and you know, Johnny's going to see Jill again, and we'll all get together and have a turkey roast at some point, you know. And I liked that idea, and I just kind of wrote it as a message in a bottle to people, like, hey, you know, just sending it out, sending an SOS out, so to speak. And I ended up moving half of my recording studio to my apartment during the pandemic, and started making a record here. And that I ended up putting that out as a single a couple months later, but that was made here at home with a few other people recording remotely on it. So it was definitely of its time, but I have performed the song a bunch in recent months, wherever I am too.
Yeah, it's a good promise-filling song, because, you know, I don't think any of us really truly expected this to last as long as it has. But, you know, we got to look towards that horizon, and when we'll be able to get back together, right? I mean, it's yeah,
for sure. And I think listening to the song now, with so much time removed from it, I listened to it last week, actually. I was going through some old stuff, and I was like, yeah, I mean, it is the we in the general sense of all of us. We can get together, but maybe it's about, you know, missing someone, just someone you love, or reconnecting with an old loved one, or a relationship that didn't go the way you thought it would. That there might be hope. There might be hope to reconnect with someone at some point too, you know?
Yeah. And you've done a lot of good. You've done some charity work. Can you tell me about your work with the Ryan Seacrest Foundation?
I like to, well, it's been tough to do stuff in person, obviously, and I hope to be at any of those hospitals again. I do feel, and I've done a lot of work with the Ronald McDonald House. I do like I had done a yearly holiday benefit there. I do think that children, if there's something that really tugs at my heart, and if there's something that I think music has the ability to bridge any gap on, it's the idea that children who are not given a fair shake is a way more disruptive and tragic thing than any of us in some ways. You know, I know that feels a bit, you know, I don't know, it's kind of a reach, but my heart gets tugged at when I see kids going through something. And I thought, if there's a way to, Ryan Seacrest does this really well. Ryan Seacrest, in a sense, you're bringing music to the kids, but you're actually really performing for the kind of the families as well. They're going through something. And I think that that foundation and the Ronald McDonald House, because that is about the families who are there as well, they need to be uplifted. Music has the ability to do that. I'm a vessel in that sense, and it makes me smile, just hopefully as much as it lightens their hearts in a crazy, crazy time. So that's always any work that I've done for charity. You know, I think of it that way. Like, we got to spread a little joy. You guys are going through something. We've all gone through something, some version of loss or hardship. And music is the only thing in my mind, other than maybe sharing a nice meal with someone, to let us forget for a second.
Yeah, well, that's really, really great, because it is important, and it is something that, you know, I mean, maybe not enough emphasis is always put on, you know, on there, that music can help, you know, really take people out of, you know, a dark spot, right? Out of something that's really challenging for them. And, you know, they may be in, you know, the hardest point of their lives, but not, you know, but just hearing a good song and positive, uplifting song, and having someone there in that sense, you know, can, you know, really help you turn a corner, right?
That's the right way to say it, for sure. For sure. It's all about that uplift and being present. And if you have something else to focus on in that present moment, aka music, you do tend to forget about the worries and the woes, you know, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the new album. Is it called Betwixt and Between? Is that the name of the album?
Well,
or is that
no, it's great. So that's kind of been the working title on it. I like I said, I brought the recording studio here, or a lot of it here. I started fleshing out these demos. I wrote 25 songs within 6 weeks or something like that, in between April and June of last year. And at some point I was just like, when the recording studio opened up, I work out of Studio G in Brooklyn. I have a lot of my vintage gear there and recording equipment there. When that opened up in late July, the rhythm section, Zach Jones and Oscar Albus Rodriguez, I called on them and they were down to do it. And we went through 20 something songs together. I completed everything really by the end of October, finished mixing the record by December. So it's firmly a 2020 record in some ways. But I think I don't know that it's going to be released as a double album yet. I think I'm going to put out some singles and kind of just maybe compile it into EPs. And then eventually maybe next year, a double vinyl, full double record from it all. But it is meant to be a double vinyl, a double record, 4 sides, 22 songs.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so with writing an album in that kind of, in this environment, right? Like where does your mind go? What thematically were you trying to portray through this album?
You mentioned "We'll Be Together Again." That writing that song, being kind of stuck in this apartment, opened up a floodgate. There are days, of course, that I woke up and didn't feel like writing at all, but that opened up a floodgate thematically, I think. The want for connection, the nostalgia for life the way we all knew it, and hope that would come back. The kind of loss of a relationship or two leading up to that time period, and using that as writing material and kind of working through that cathartically. And it's certainly my friend Evan called it a pandemic breakup record. But I do think while that exists, my songs, I don't think ever get to full darkness. I think there's a shimmer of hope and light throughout all of them, even in the remorseful kind of moments, and even in the sadder moments, I'm an optimist, and there is always a look to a brighter and better tomorrow for sure.
Yeah. And so were you planning on this album, like whether, pandemic or not, or did it kind of form as everything changed and everything shut down?
Oh, it definitely formed. I didn't expect to write that many songs, nor did I expect to compile them. I just was writing to write. I would just kind of wake up and say, became a part of my routine at some point. I would wake up and from 11 to 2, that would be my writing time. And I'd have to have a voice memo by 2 p.m. And it became this thing. Little did I know. I mean, when I'm looking back at the material, that it really focused all of my attention and energy away from the pandemic. I mean, and away from the kind of misery of what we were going through and the bleakness. It brought me into this true, sense of construction and creation, and really reframed my whole kind of year emotionally. And grateful to be a songwriter, grateful to be an artist in order to do that. I'm sure we all have our own way of dealing with the darkness, and that was mine,
Yeah. And as you were writing this, do you envision like being able to play it live, that sort of thing? Is that a part of your considerations as you're making the album?
Interesting. It was pre-2020. With these songs, I just was focused on, I wasn't thinking about my band prior, or thinking of shows, nor was I thinking about a set list, which I would always kind of write to before. I would think like, well, I need a moment in the show that feels like this. But these songs, I really just kind of wanted to write. I wanted them to write what I was going through in the moment and be the best version of what they were. And when we recorded them, again, they felt great live in the studio with those guys to lay them down. But the idea of a show or playing them out live in front of people was the last thing in my mind. Although now that I'm listening to all 22 songs, I'm like, maybe half of them I don't know if I would play live, but there's a lot of bangers in there and a lot of barn burners. And I'm so psyched when the world comes back to play them live.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Do you have like a mentor or someone that you bounce this off of before you're like, okay, this is what I got here. Will you give this a listen and give me some feedback and kind of take it back and remold it at all?
I selfishly put my friends to the test.
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point they were probably tired of me sending them voice memos, but I sent out I think that was a way that we all connected. I said, hey, this is kind of what I did today. I shared what I did. What did you do? I would send them a song and they would say, I love this. It sounds like Roy Orbison. Or my buddy, Evan Doobie, who used the term pandemic breakup record. I would use him as a sounding board a lot. I respect his musical taste and I would always forward him what I was working on. And he'd say, that feels more like Tom Petty than it does Billy Joel, or that feels like an early Beatles tuner. And I'd be like, oh, okay, interesting. And I think that at some point that it did inform the recording and the production of these songs, like where I could take them, which had been different than what I'd been working on before. I mean, there are moments on the new material that sound like David Bowie, or I don't know, like an early Sun Studios record. And before, maybe I was thinking a little more about Sam Cooke or Frankie Valli or the Shirelles or something like that. I wasn't really thinking about, Bowie or Tom Petty or I don't know, whomever. So yeah. So I guess people, to answer your question, sorry about the tangent, but people's opinions about what it sounds like kind of opened up a production toolkit and palette for me that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So as we wind out, I think 2 more questions, and then we can have you play a song or 2.
Sure.
So you had the opportunity to perform on the Tonight Show. How did that come about, and tell me about the experience?
A friend of mine at the time was showrunner on the show. We knew each other through the New York City scene, kind of through mutual friends, and he had this kind of skit, this segment where they would, quote unquote, pluck people out of the audience and dare them to write a song, right? We're all supposed to be kind of amateur songwriters. Of course, me and the other lady who performed were not amateur. I mean, maybe I consider myself an amateur, but we have been writing for a long time. And that was the premise of this skit. And it was really fun. I mean, that morning I landed from France. Like I was just on this, like just fully in layover mode of like, where am I? And why am I showing up at 30 Rock, at 12 p.m. on a Monday? And it turned out just to be a whirlwind day. We got a song title in our green room. They brought a piano in for me. And 20 minutes later, I was playing the song I wrote in those last 20 minutes. And Questlove is, 7 feet away from me. Uh-huh. So I was just like, how did I get here? And but Jimmy was great. Everyone on the show was great. And it was certainly a really nice experience. And I hope to be back when the world comes back, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And my last question, did you get a chance to tour the Bay Area at any point? And if so, like, where did you perform? What?
Good question. I did. I haven't toured up there recently. I did a bit of Southern California recently. I'd love to get back to the Bay Area. I think it's been over a decade, honestly. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to get to Napa. I mean, if there's a way to get out and see you and perform for you in person and kind of do the festival and whatever else you have there set up, would love that. But it's been a second since I've been to the Bay Area. The last time I was there was for pleasure. Was in Sonoma, drinking the drinks and in Oakland eating the tacos. So that was.
Sounds like you did it right. So.
Yes. Yes, but I'd love to get back.
Very cool. Hopefully, obviously sooner rather than later, we can start getting some live shows going again. It's been far too long since I've been to a concert and I miss it. So the fact that you've been able to play some is amazing. So
cool. Yeah. I hope so too. I hope the world comes back sooner than later, and hope to see IRL at some point. And I'll end with one here called "I Know a Place," and it feels like a nice kind of finale. And I've done it at my shows as a finale in times prior, in the before times, as they say. It is a song about kind of oneness and unity, and as Pollyanna as that sounds, I do believe it, and I do think there is a place for all of us, and there's definitely hope on the horizon. I think this year has given us some nice glimmers in that direction. So it ain't all bleak, and this is "I Know a Place."
I know a place somewhere we can go, a place where our hearts are free and so far away from trouble and woe, a place meant for you and me. Let's make it a place that others can find, where no one can tell them they're wrong. Long as we lay our worries behind, it's a place where we all belong. Though it sounds like a dream, an impossible scheme, but I know in my heart that it's true. Oh, with time on our side, with arms open wide, we'll get there, no matter what we do. Oh, there must be a place where a voice can be heard, where everything sounds like a song, where harmony speaks much louder than words, a place where we all belong. Oh, it may sound like a dream, an impossible scheme, but I know in my heart that it's true. Oh, with time on our side, with arms open wide, we'll get there, no matter what we do. Whoa, I know there's a place, a room with a view of long summer days in the sun, where nobody says there's freedom for few, 'cause it's a place meant for everyone, a place where we all belong.
Yay!
Thanks, Steve.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Paul. I appreciate it, and thank you for taking the time today as well. I mean, I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed our conversation, and getting to dig into your music and the new album also. I mean, it's I'm sure you're excited for it to come out, but it's I was really digging on it too. So
thanks, man. Thank you, and I really appreciate the time and speaking to you. And I have a new single actually coming out next Friday, that was a part of the sessions for the new record, but it's living a little separately. It's a roller skating anthem in some ways, a kind of funky, fun thing, and putting it out for Valentine's Day weekend. So we'll send that to you too, so you get to hear it and enjoy it.
That'd be awesome. What's it called?
It's called Keeping Me Close.
Okay.
But not too close, because we need to social distance. But yes,
6 feet, of course.
6 feet apart. Yes, for sure. But I do appreciate the time. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you, man. I hope to see you in real life when the world comes back up and running.
Back at you. And this will be up in about a week or so, week and a half, something like that. So I'll shoot the links over to Dan and Carrie when it's live. And
wonderful, man.
Get out there. So we have an awesome one, and stay safe.
Thanks.
For sure, okay.
You too, Steve. I'll talk to you soon, man. Right. Cheers.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye.
That was the interview with Paul Loren here on Concert Pipeline. And Jens, that takes us to the final segment on the program. What is it?
Yeah, it's time to talk about some music news. It's the time where we start telling the stories that are happening in the music world.
That is absolutely right. We have a couple stories for you today, what's going on, and I'm going to start with one about Bruce Springsteen. Now, I'm not sure if you heard this, Jens. Did you hear what happened to Bruce, the boss?
Yeah, but I don't want to spoil your story. It has to do with drinking.
It does. Well, you just cheers to that, Jens. Okay.
Yeah. Cheers to drinking. So I think the takeaway for the story that you're going to present is always make sure you're drinking.
Always make sure you're drinking. Yes, I'm sure Bruce would agree. News has surfaced that Bruce Springsteen was arrested for DUI, driving while intoxicated, in his home state of New Jersey last fall. It just came out, I guess, though. And TMZ was the first to report the alleged November 14th incident, which saw Springsteen cited for DUI, reckless driving, and consuming alcohol in the closed area at Gateway National Recreation Area in Sandy Hook, New Jersey. So,
Wow.
according to the, yeah.
I mean,
so
I'm surprised that it took so long to, for that story to get out.
Yeah, that's the interesting part, right? I mean, because it's been like 3 months, so this isn't like breaking news sort of thing. But
I know.
But
I didn't realize that. I mean, I just saw the headline of that story, and I just assumed, oh, that's must have just happened. But you would think that like the officer that was writing the ticket was like, oh my God, I'm writing Bruce Springsteen a fucking ticket. That is so cool. Can you autograph my ticket or something? And then, they'd show,
I mean, he has
take
to
a
sign
picture
it,
of
right?
it, put it on Facebook, and then boom, everybody knows what happened.
Yeah, that's a good idea, right? Yeah. Well, he does have to sign the ticket, right? It's like an acknowledgement that, that he was delivered it. So, according to the Asbury Park Press, Springsteen was riding his silver Triumph motorcycle when he pulled over to take pictures with fans who offered him a shot of tequila. His BAL was 0.02, just a quarter of New Jersey's legal limit, right? And California too is 0.08. So that's interesting. When he was arrested by authorities after allegedly failing 2 field sobriety tests. So how does that work, right? He's a quarter of the limit. But he failed the sobriety test, so he got a DUI. Like, what is the deal there?
It's probably political. It's probably political. It's probably like Bruce is a Bernie Sanders fan, and the cops were a bunch of Proud Boys.
Yes. Well, the officer indicated on the arrest documents that Springsteen smelled strongly of alcohol coming off his person and had glassy eyes. Admitted he had had 2 shots of tequila in the last 20 minutes and initially refused to provide a sample on the preliminary breath test. As Sandy Hook is part of the federally operated recreation area, Springsteen will appear in federal court via video conference. It just seems really odd, right? Like, I mean, there's no leniency there or what, Like, I don't get it. He didn't blow 0.08 or anything, so he wasn't even close. But he smelled like alcohol, so I know.
I think
right?
we might have to know more about the community. Is this like a community where they give everybody a ticket? Like you're jade walking if you're not exactly on the crosswalk. If you're 2 inches away from it, they give you a ticket. Is it that kind of community?
I mean, we're talking like New Jersey, right? And when you think of New Jersey, there's a couple of artists that you think of. And people that define the state a little bit, and Bruce Springsteen's one of them, right? Like, and Bon Jovi's another one, right? And so to penalize, and not to say that they're above the rules, but I'm not seeing where he broke the rule in particular, right? Like, I mean, so it just it doesn't send a great message for looking out for for those that are like, he's like a founder of this state sort of thing. He's such a big representative of New Jersey that it's like, really, I don't get it. I don't know. That's just me.
Who knows, man? Who knows? All I can say is that I'm fucking happy he was driving a Triumph. If you're gonna drive a motorcycle, drive a Triumph.
That's the way to go, huh?
Yeah. Speaking of Triumphs, I can't get my damn Triumph started. I've been
Ooh,
trying
there
all day.
You haven't been triumphant, have you?
I haven't been triumphant with my Triumph, no, but it's my own fault. I don't ride the thing as often as I should, so it just.
When was the last time? When was the last time you rode it?
Like over a year ago. I don't think I rode it at all in 2020.
Might be time to turn that one in too. So.
Yeah, I know. Time to sell it. Anyway, I am getting off topic. I have a story. Are you done with your story?
I am. Hit us.
All right. My story is not about Bruce. It is about Justin.
Okay.
So apparently Justin Timberlake apologized to Britney Spears and to Janet Jackson. He says, "I know I failed."
What do you fail for? I wonder.
I have no idea. I don't know what this is about, but let's find out. Just the takeaway from that, header makes me think that, it was an apology that should have come like a long time ago.
It sounds like he's in a 12-step program, then he needs to make some amends, right? Is what's kind of happening here.
Yeah. Like it took 12 years for him to finally come to terms with, I should have apologized for that. Anyway, so he says, "I know this apology is a first step and doesn't absolve the past. And I guess this is all about some framing Britney Spears backlash."
Yeah, because there's that new documentary that's out and people are all like up, I mean, it's a thing people are watching right now, right? I haven't seen it, but
Okay, so Justin has apologized to both Britney and Janet. In a new statement, the singer posted on social media. So following the recent release of the documentary, as you said, Flaming Britney Spears, okay, got it. So Flaming Britney Spears is the name of the documentary. Timberlake has been criticized for the public relations offensive his team dispatched in the aftermath of the pop star's breakup, with the tabloid accusations against Spears damaging her reputation in the media and public eye. You see, I read this stuff and I didn't know that Britney Spears was damaged. I didn't realize her reputation was damaged.
she had a really tough period, and it's been a while, right? We're talking 15 years ago probably, but
are we talking about like a shaved head thing?
I think that was
she went nuts. Like she couldn't handle all the pressure, the stardom or whatever it was.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, all right, I know what we're talking about now. She looks good bald. So he says, "I've seen the message tags, comments, and concerns, and I wanted to respond. I'm deeply sorry for the times of my life where my actions contributed to the problem, where I spoke out of turn, or did not speak up for what was right." This is what Timberlake wrote in his Instagram statement. "I understand that I fell short in these moments and in many others, and benefited from a system that condones misogyny and racism." Well, you know what? I'm glad that he finally came to terms in his 12-step program and, did the right thing by apologizing.
And so the Janet Jackson, the
Nipplegate. Oh, yeah, right.
There you go.
I like public nudity. I have no problem with that.
Nope, you're okay with that, right? So
I remember that just seeming so staged. It's like, that was so staged. Again, following Super Bowl Nipplegate scandal, while Jackson was blacklisted from radio and her career momentarily derailed following the incident. Timberlake, who pulled at Jackson's bra during the infamous wardrobe malfunction, exposing her breast, faced no repercussions. Really? He did that?
And it looks like he played the Super Bowl halftime show a couple other times after that, right?
So what I saw on TV is that I saw wasn't it just like one boob that was exposed and there was like a star on it? The nipple was covered. It was totally
I don't know
covered.
that it was. Was it?
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't covered live. Maybe it was covered because it was. Sometimes they do that.
Yeah, because it was
delay and it was edited.
Yeah, I think when it was live, it wasn't. There was no coverage or anything of the nipple in there, so it was like
interesting.
It was a big deal because of that.
So staged. Oh.
Yeah.
You see, so that totally makes sense. I remember very clearly that Janet Jackson thing, but I had no idea that he.
And it's just interesting. He's going back, 15 years or so to a couple of things he did that had an impact on. I don't know. I think it's water. I don't know. Obviously, it's not my decision to make it to say that, but I think a lot of people have moved on, and I don't know that Janet has been held. I don't know. I don't know how this affected her directly, right? I can't speak to that, but I think people still respect her as a musician, and and that hasn't changed because of the
Right.
Super Bowl halftime show.
I completely forgotten
Happened,
about
so
it. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So you know, I'm sure it's I don't know what the right word is. You know, somewhat of a relief or something for Janet and Brittany to. You know, I don't want to say closure, but
Yeah.
it's nice
Yeah,
to know
well,
that people grow up and mature somehow, right? So they
that's a good way to look
develop
at it.
in some way. And you know, might have taken just a long time, but
Well,
done.
there it is. Well, I have one more story ends, and you know this is involving Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters, right?
Yeah. Tell
Yes,
me
yeah.
what's going on with Mr. Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters and your shoes.
The shoes, the infamous Foo Fighter shoes, which, by the way, are not only are not available. I mean, they're not just sold out on Vans' website anymore. They're just, the page is down. It doesn't even exist for those shoes. So they are done being sold. From
so
what I
it's
can
not like
tell.
the server crashed. It's like the project is done. There's nowhere you can buy them.
That's
except
what it seems. That's what it seems like, eBay or what have you.
people
You know,
that resell them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
pretty
okay.
lucky to have gotten up there.
Yeah, yeah. You want to show them off?
I do not, because I'm not wearing them in the house. But I know I said that I was gonna. They're never gonna be off. That was probably on the Lost Pod, Jens. We can't, talk about that. Okay. So
all I remember is that something about you sleeping with them, taking a shower with them. They're never gonna leave your feet unless you are buried in the ground.
I'm pretty protective about when I wear them, though. Like, I need to, like, if I'm going to be walking in dirt or anything, I'm not going to wear those shoes. So
you're not going to be wearing them in the marsh when you're hunting.
No. That's probably the last place I would wear them. Absolutely. Yeah. No, but the Foo Fighters' new album, Medicine at Midnight, debuted, and they debuted atop the UK charts with their new album. And according to official charts company, the band's 10th studio release earned 42,500 chart sales, while outselling its 6 closest rivals combined to enter the UK top 100 charts at number 1. So, and they also claimed the top spot at UK's official vinyl albums chart with opening week sales of 10,500 copies. And Dave has this to say. I would like to thank everyone for honoring us with this #1 record. After 25 years of being a band, it still kind of blows our minds that this could actually happen, and we're very grateful and very thankful. We can't wait to get back out there and see you guys sooner than later. I hope we're ready. Every day we're one step closer. Thank you very much. It's an honor to have this #1 record. See you soon. So he's excited to get back out and play some shows. And I mean, they made this album to play live, right? They're itching to be able to do that.
Yeah. Nice. You know, it's albums like that where I feel like, should I start a collection of, seriously awesome vinyl, just even a little connection, like a dozen epic vinyl albums, include this one, and actually buy a turntable.
You can do it?
No, but I feel like every now and then I feel like I should do that.
I've had that thought too sometimes, actually. Like, it would be cool to do it, but then I'm like, God, I don't need more stuff. And I just, I like listening to my music on the move, whether it's on the Peloton or in the car. And taking a turntable in the car probably wouldn't work out too well.
Right, I know. Put the turntable on the dashboard. But that's exactly it. I remember doing that stuff when I was a kid, right? I mean, CDs were a brand new thing back then. But everybody had a turntable and everybody had a huge collection of vinyl. And as kids, we had so much time just to hang out and just listen to albums. But now, exactly like you said, you're on the go. It's like, I can't sit down and listen to a vinyl album on the couch and just sit there and enjoy it. It's like, I'm too restless for that. I've got to, be listening to it while I'm walking the dog or in the car while I'm going to get beer.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Jens. Well, that's our show for today. So I want to thank Paul Loren for joining us and everybody for listening. And I'll tell you a little bit about what we have coming up. Next week on the show, we have an artist named who goes by Good Bison. And so we'll be getting into that pretty soon. And so for all of us here at Concert Pipeline, that's Jen Schipple.
And that is Steve Jones.
We'll catch you next time.
See ya.